Hi, you're listening to the Professional Speaks podcast with me, Craig McKellar, your host. As an ex-Big 4 auditor for 6 years, I now run a specialist recruitment consultancy called McKellar Consulting. Throughout this podcast, I speak to senior leaders from the professional services community, past, present and future. These leaders work in accounting and finance, audit, tax, corporate finance, consulting, legal and investments. In the comfort of their own office, I will be posing questions to our guests to gain insights from them across a variety of topics, including balancing work and life, mental health and mindset, risk-taking, and effective leadership. These insights will help us learn, be inspired, grow, and ultimately succeed in what we want to achieve in our careers. Here's what's coming up on today's episode.
It didn't go to plan. I got a 2-2. That makes things very difficult. So my options soon just completely narrowed. I then started working in Sainsbury's post-university. That kind of did wonders for me. I'd never studied. I was never particularly put much effort into it. Studying, school, university. Well, for some reason when I got to Sainsbury's, I found to graft. I worked really hard at the trolleys, customer service, stacking the shelves, whatever it may be. And then one day, my old childminder came in to the till I was working on, and we were having a conversation, and I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Kind of messed up uni. I'm here, not sure what the future holds. She said, well, I do work with that partner, EY. Would you be interested in having a conversation, connected in that way? And then I still didn't know what audit was when I started, but it was from that got me.
In this episode, I am joined by Chris Docherty, who is a partner at global accounting and advisory firm CFGI. Prior to this, he spent 13 years in the Big 4 as an auditor, including as a partner. Topics discussed include his career journey to audit partner and beyond, his mindset towards challenges and perceived barriers, and appraisals and culture. Okay, Chris, thank you very much for getting involved in this podcast.
No problem. No, I'm looking forward to it. It's funny, after all these years, we're now sat here after training EY together, so pleasure to be here.
I was going to say the same thing, but I'll probably start off just with the viewers and listeners that are listening. I'll introduce you. So you're currently a partner at CFGI, which is a global accounting and advisory firm, which is kind of historically a US firm, but it opened up in London, I think the UK recently, and in Scotland, and so you're heading up CFGI in Scotland, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Good. And we'll come on to more of your role in the firm later on, but maybe just starting with like your background and kind of who you are, if you maybe just give us a flavour of who you are.
Yeah, sure. I grew up in Bridge of Allen, round about Stirling. Went to Dunblane High School. I was never the most studious of people, unfortunately. I don't think it was for me. But I got by in school, did fine. Went on to study actuarial science at Heriot Watt Uni. I kind of always was good with numbers and just managed to get by with the skin of my teeth. And then, I might get onto it later, but I got an interesting route into the role at EY. I didn't really know what audit was when I went into EY, and then, fast forward, I was there for 13 years and had a fantastic time there.
Yeah, and so you said that kind of maybe did you start off on a path in terms of actuarial and then the audit path?
Yeah, I was never sure. I mean, even coming up through high school, I still remember sitting doing these surveys of what are you good at, what are you not good at, and trying to figure out what direction am I going to go in. And it was one of those surveys that said, you might be good at actuarial maths. I was always good with numbers, so I kind of just took that as gospel and thought, right, I'll go and do that. I'll spend 4 years of my life studying this. Did that. Then, didn't go to plan. I got a 2-2. That makes things very difficult. So my options soon just completely narrowed. I then started working in Sainsbury's post-university. That kind of did wonders for me. I'd never studied. I was never particularly put much effort into it. Studying, school, university. But for some reason when I got to Sainsbury's, I found to graft. I worked really hard at the trolleys, customer service, stacking the shelves, whatever it may be. And then one day, my old childminder came in to the till I was working on, and we were having a conversation, and I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Kind of messed up uni. I'm here, not sure what the future holds. She said, well, I do work with that partner, EY. Would you be interested in having a conversation, connected in that way? And then I still didn't know what audit was when I started, but it was from that got me the role.
Wow. And although you didn't know what audit was, I guess you knew it would mean that you'd train as an accountant, and I guess you knew what accountancy was. Was that kind of your mindset?
I did know. I had a good understanding of what accountancy was, and I knew because I was good at numbers, I had an interest in business, I thought this probably makes sense for me. This is going to be as good a bet as any to give it a go. I also thought, well, the prospect of doing 2, 3, 4 years and getting an accountancy qualification, maybe if it isn't for me, all I hear is great things about how many doors this can open up for me. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a go. Thankfully I did.
It's funny that, I don't know if you remember us having this conversation when we both started at EY in 2010, but just before I started, I was also working in Sainsbury's. So something about Sainsbury's, that helps you make that jump into accountancy and finance. So you, am I right in thinking, you went and did the ACCA route? And so I guess for maybe people that don't know, a lot of people that go into Big Four maybe do ICAS, and certainly back then it took them away from work for, I guess, a large period of the first 6 months, whereas ACCA, you sat less exams, so you're maybe in the office more. So was that your experience when you started there?
Yeah, I remember when I went into the job, I didn't even know there was two things, because I knew nothing about it, and I quickly understood, okay, there's some ICAS people, and then we've got this small pool of ACCA people. I did my exams. I did all my studying on the weekends because I didn't want to take my holidays, so I was often in class Saturday, Sunday. And luckily I got dispensation to do 3 exams at a time, so I did get through them quite quickly. I had no exemptions with the degree I did. So I think I had to do 13 or 14 exams, which was a bit of a slog. But there was such a change in my mindset, I think, because I could completely see how I could apply a lot of what I was studying to work, or how one day I might apply it. And as everything started to click and make sense, so I actually found an ability to start studying some of the stuff because I had an interest in it. Whereas a lot of the theory at school and university, I just had no idea when I was ever going to use it. And it wasn't for me. So yeah, then I really started kind of knuckling down with the ACCA, go through the exams.
And I mean, was it just you doing ACCA? Because I guess my experience was, there wasn't many people doing it. There was, 2 or 3 in comparison to several people doing ICAS. And was that your experience, and kind of how did you find that?
Yeah, it was a much smaller group. You could maybe say it was 20% and the ICAS was 80 as a proxy. I was quite fortunate that the year group still mingled. I still felt welcome and all the rest of it, and we acted as one, so that worked out quite well. I think the traditional ACCA path, how it used to work was, it's either if you didn't get your 2-1 or above at university, and I think that was there as a bit of a catch, there still could be good quality candidates out there. Now, that was my case, but you also didn't need a degree. It's like my old counsellor ran a pub, and she got in through that way. Because I think there was a bit of a spiral of recognising just doing well at university isn't everything. I actually learned as much in a year at Sainsbury's probably as I did at university in terms of how to work, how to be customer client facing. University didn't teach me any of that. The lady who I referenced managing the pub probably great management skills that nobody else at university had. So I think they could see that there was some good talent coming through in other ways.
And ACCA, I think back in the day, I guess when partnership path was still kind of very narrow, there was a perception that, maybe ACCA, or, there wasn't any partners who'd done ACCA, or there were very few compared to ICAS. Did you, feel any of that kind of ACCA kind of stigma, for your progression opportunities? Yeah,
I did a bit, especially earlier in my career. I felt like there maybe was that bit of a stigma there, and I'm still not sure if there was, or that was maybe my perception, and maybe I was being narrow-minded and I'm blaming other people or whatever, just a young guy. But I do believe it was there, but I certainly felt like when I got to senior manager stage, and I was well respected within the firm. And I think, I always had in my head then that I was probably wanting to progress further with the firm, and I had the support of the partners and others. I certainly felt no stigma by that time. But I would say, rather than thinking, oh, I can't get there because I'm ACCA, I more thought, I'm going to get there because I want to prove people wrong because I'm ACCA, and I want to show them that I'm just as good, if not better, than other candidates.
No, definitely. And I guess talking about your career a bit, right? So you referenced that you're at EY for 13 years, you got to partner. So how did that look? I mean, I know that there's the natural progression of steps. Maybe kind of talking us, when did you think, no, I really want to get to partner here?
Yeah, I think my first, as I said at the start, I didn't even know what audit was, and I had done a maths degree. So I still remember my first week, I went out to a client and they started talking to me about debits and credits, and I tried to wing it for an hour, kind of pretending that I did, and I had to go straight to the manager and say, oh, I was way out of my depth there. I think I managed to, not make the firm look silly, but, I'm going to need to do a lot of work on this to get up to speed. So one of the ladies in the office had an accounting software, and it was like little quizzes and teaching you how to do debits and credits, because I knew the exam path probably wasn't going to be quick enough for me. So I sat and did that, got up to speed, and then I did fine my first few years, but I still remember sitting there, and it could have been a confidence thing, thinking, oh, I can't even imagine being a senior on a job when I'm running it and being the one that the client comes to. That was nerve shattering for me just thinking about that. So it probably took me about 3-4 years to start thinking, right, I understand audit now, I'm good at this, I've done my exams, my performance reviews are going well, everybody's telling me I'm doing well, maybe I do have a longer term career here and I'm good at this. I was then fortunate to get lots of different opportunities that weren't just audit. So I did 9 months at a large FTSE business on secondment, and it was kind of modelling how they would distribute charges around the business. Completely different from audit, but fantastic for me to get, fantastic to dip my toe into industry, see what it's like. I came back from that for maybe a year, and then I applied to go in the global exchange programme. So this is a kind of link to CFGI. Me and another partner who's now at CFGI were the two from the UK that went the year that I went. So he went to Boston, I went to Washington DC, so I worked on audits there for 18 months, and I was also in New York for quite a while as well. So I was kind of in and out, very much in and out the audit department, but that's what I loved. I felt like at EY you get worked extremely hard. But part of that, I would work myself extremely hard. It's not, nobody's holding a gun to my head, the hours are long, but I did feel I got everything back.
For your hard work.
Yeah. So I was putting in hours, but I was getting all these fantastic opportunities that I knew would kind of light up my CV, and no matter what I chose to do in the future would put me in good stead.
And did you genuinely enjoy kind of what you were doing? Because you said that you got a taster for industry. So I'm wondering, because some people think, oh, I'll go into industry once I'm qualified, once I get to manager. Kind of what kept you there? Was it these different opportunities that EY were giving you? Was it the actual work and people you work with? Kind of what was it that kept you there and maybe not leave practice? Yeah,
I think it was a number of factors. The different opportunities is definitely one. I think because I was getting these opportunities, it created like a loyalty. I didn't want to let, if EY was letting me do all this great stuff, I never wanted to turn around and say, oh, by the way, I'm leaving. I know subsequently I did leave, but I did feel like a loyalty towards the firm for a number of years.
And audit itself, kind of what did you enjoy about it? I know that it's, it can give you a lot of responsibility the more you're doing it. What was it, that or developing people or working on different businesses? Because you were...
Yeah, I think I liked, I definitely liked the variety. You'll still remember it. You're kind of jumping around from client to client. I was getting to work on some of the largest PLCs in Scotland. I was getting to work on small kind of owner managed businesses. So I felt like I was getting to look holistically at a brilliant sample of businesses across Scotland, how they tick, what they need, where they need support, how the audit works. And I've always had an interest in developing people. I had that in roles at EY. So I kind of loved helping others and trying to develop them, bring them up through the ranks. I always had kind of different roles where I would work on counsellor connect groups, or I would help people through the manager assessment workshop. I really did get a lot from helping others.
And I mean, what did you learn the most to make that step up to partner? Because obviously not everybody can, not everybody has the ability, not everyone is well suited for it. So kind of, you know, what did you learn on that to make that step from, you know, kind of senior manager up to being a real senior leader?
Yeah, I think whilst it's a huge step, I maybe always had the misconception that once I got there, that would be me and I would be the most senior person, calling all the shots and having to know everything. And it really isn't that, because there's so many more senior partners above you, which is actually great when you're coming through as a junior partner. So even though I was kind of owning my own clients, I still always had people I could go and talk to, and the partner group were great. It was very close-knit. So I always had that kind of backbone, if you like, of not worrying if things went wrong. I think what the bit that I felt like got me there was I was always able to remain relatively calm in pressure situations and in large PLCs when they want to announce the stock market and there's various delays and things going wrong and people having to work extra hours, and it can create a bit of a stressful environment. I think I was quite good at either taking the brunt of it myself to shield the team, or I was able to make light of the situation or do something just to try and keep everybody calm and composed, which is crucial because there are tense moments.
Yeah, no, I bet. I mean, are you given, you know, for somebody listening to this who's not long qualified and thinking about taking, you know, on that route, are you given some quite clear direction from senior partners on what you need to do to get there? I know there's an assessment that, you know, you'll need to do, go through a process, but other than that, you know, you think, is there something you given direction of you should really be good at X, Y, and Z?
I think, I mean, one of the reasons why I stayed at the Big Four and didn't jump to industry was the routes to progression are so well laid out and the routes to progression are there. I would have worried if I jumped to industry too early that I just sit and stagnate and I'm waiting somebody to retire to then get their role, or they need to try and figure out to make a new role for me. At the Big Four, it's very much ego, senior, assistant manager, manager, senior manager, and it is very well laid out with, you know, it's almost like a tick list of goals and everything you need to do. But you won't be held like over a barrel by those. But if you're doing a good job and showing you can run and manage a client, you know, you'll get looked after and will get promoted. But I would say it's very clear. And often the number of years are relatively clear, so everybody knows, if I do a good job in this role, I'll be 2 years till I get a bump up, or I'll maybe be 3 if it's a bit slower. Something that they do very well.
And in terms of, like, you know, appraisals as well, you know, I remember, you know, getting graded each year. So, you know, are you meeting expectations? Are you not? Are you going above and beyond? And that can have an impact into whether you're promoted or not as well. What's your thoughts on that kind of grading system in terms of appraisals? Because you know, it's certainly in the Big Four, and firms that are a bit smaller, of course they have appraisal processes, but not everybody maybe does a grading, but some will. You know, what's your thoughts on it? What does CFGI do?
Yeah, I think a grading can work well for some businesses. Audit, largely the teams it's kind of all utilisation driven. There's not too many non-chargeable projects, if you like, that people work on, and everyone is doing audits essentially, and on Scottish businesses. So in that sense, I quite like a grading because I feel like you're comparing apples to apples. So I think it does work. It obviously can be a bit contentious because it is difficult to compare people at times, but I think it's the right thing to do there. CFGI, we operate a kind of similar thing where we do look at people and numbers. It can become a bit more difficult, especially when we're almost like a startup. So whilst people are doing client delivery, it's a much more varied type of roles. Somebody might be doing an interim role where they go away for 3 months and work as a financial controller because somebody's on maternity leave. Or there might be a really complex technical accounting paper somebody needs help with. We'll be helping with that. Or they might not be doing that because we need to work in growing the brand, so they're out doing networking stuff, and then at the end of the year comparing all that can be quite difficult. So whilst we have numbers, we just make sure we're always looking at the qualitative stuff, having really good thorough discussions about it before we get to the get the number, because it's quite hard to compare.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Kind of one thing I've maybe forgot to ask as well is, on your journey to the partner, it's hard work. You said that you took the brunt of feedback from clients and keeping calm in tense situations. There's no doubt that you do need to put a lot of time into the job as well. So kind of make sacrifices. Did you find? I know it's your choice, but did you feel that you had to make many sacrifices kind of along the way? I think for me, when I was working in audit, I missed some family weddings because of not just work but studying, to become qualified, and a lot of social plans I didn't get along to because of the hours. And I mean, that was the nature of the job, right? And the nature of working in Big 4 audit, but getting to partner, going up to senior manager and beyond, requires, I would say, a lot more, and certainly for a lot longer period of time. So, what did you find, you had to sacrifice?
Yeah, I felt so that kind of all resonates with me. I definitely did make sacrifices. Certainly earlier in my career, I probably wasn't as good at maybe sticking up for myself or saying no. So that was something I had to work on. I mean, you could always say people shouldn't overwork you in the first place, but it's a bit of a two-way street. I feel like kind of fast forward to now, I'm much better at managing my own time. So certainly earlier on when I was in weekends doing the ACCA studying and working Monday to Friday, that was tough. So you're that age, 21, 22, so there were some weddings I couldn't go to. There'd be nights out with friends, birthday parties, all that kind of stuff. But I did get to a stage where I made peace with that because I was getting so much back from EY. I was progressing quickly, and ultimately it seems mad in a way. I could be in a busy job and be working on a weekend and we're trying to get to the deadline as a team of 20 and it's chaotic. There's a part of me that enjoyed it. So some of it's obviously stressful, but I always think I kind of ended up thriving in these situations to get things over the line. So definitely made the sacrifices, but off my own.
I mean, it sounds like making sacrifices, it is easier to do if you care about what you do and you're driven by it, or you're energized by it. And I think people that succeed to a senior level in practice, they do thrive on that pressure, or on that on those deadlines, and you kind of get that energy from it. If you're not getting energy from your work, whether you're in practice or another job, you're going to get bored, think about going elsewhere, not put time in it. So you're now still in professional services, not Big 4, not audit, and we'll come on to that, but you're still in an environment where you're serving clients, and that can mean that you can't just do a 9 to 5.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I can still work longer hours, but I feel like I'm now, what I didn't do terribly well at EY was organise myself. So I got to a point where my inbox would just become so full because I was getting so many emails a day, and stuff would be going in my diary constantly, and I would just turn to kind of firefighting. I got to a stage where I was like, I kind of accepted I'm not going to be on top of everything in my inbox. I'm just going to try and use others to help focus me where I absolutely need to be focused, and hope that something doesn't fall through the cracks. I was always cognizant that that's not a good way to work. I don't want to work like that. I don't want to expose a firm to risk. I want to, be on top of everything. So I did make a bit of a conscious decision when I started at CFGI. There's an amazing ability to just hit the reset button. So when I was at EY, I always felt like the next week I was looking back at the week before and thinking, what have I still got to do? And I just never felt like I quite caught up with where I wanted to be. Whereas I just got to, cut a clean slate through all of that and just start afresh. So now I will put in a bit of an extra effort on a Sunday to get on top of my diary or my emails or whatever it may be, but it means everything's now in a much more controlled fashion. So you can put in a bit of extra hours every now and then, but And I feel like I'm on top of it all, which feels great.
Good. And I mean, it'd be good to hear about, why you did leave EY. And I think for a lot of people in practice who maybe think of partner, they'd think, maybe the traditional route, which is you get to partner, you're there for a couple of decades, perhaps into your 50s, not retire, but retire as a partner, but then you become maybe a CFO or an FD of some business. But you've kind of done it early on. So kind of why did you make that move?
I think it was on paper it looked odd. I had people phoning me saying what happened, because it was quite shortly after. Sorry,
I'm guilty.
Quite shortly after I made when I got promoted to partner, and it's a grueling process. So I found that one of the hardest things I've ever done in my career, going through that process to get there. When I did get there, I think a lot of what I liked was the big clients. They had the really complicated accounting issues. I quite liked that. Managing big teams, I quite liked that. Dealing with boards and senior stakeholders. When I became a more junior partner, and I understand it, because the firm is all about managing risk and audit, and they don't want me to have it holding the pen and all these big clients, and neither would I want me doing that either. But it meant there wasn't a role as such for me that I maybe previously had, so I got more smaller clients and I had a higher handful to do. And when I was saying at the point of EY, maybe organisation wasn't my strongest point, and then I had more clients, I kind of felt like everything was getting a bit much. But I'd never had my head turned, so I was like, I'll sort it. It's going to take a while. I'm new in role. I'm going to see how it goes. And then my friend from who was also in the global exchange program, so we met up a few times when we were in the US. We kept in touch. I went to his wedding down in England when I got back. And he approached me and said, I'm leaving. And he went through the process at the same time as me. And I was shocked. And I remember when he told me, I was thinking, what is he doing? Because I hadn't heard really of CFGI at the time. It's not a well-known brand over here. And then he phoned me a few months later and said, do you want to have a chat about this? We're looking for other partners. We're growing business. And it probably caught me at the right moment, because I was a little bit weak. I was just busy at work and stuff. I said, I'll hear it out. I kind of was thinking as well, like you said, a partner at the Big Four, and that's all I've ever known. How much would another business maybe want me if it wasn't an audit practice? My skill set might not be great. I've only ever done the one thing. So I thought I should listen to this. And then the more I heard about it, it seemed to kind of tick a lot of boxes for what I wanted. So it was very much going to be a lot of responsibility, growing a brand, a lot of business development, a huge different variety of projects, because it's kind of everything non-audit related. So I was kind of thinking, no, this opportunity might not arise again. Something like this, to get in early at the start of a business that was, at the time we were hoping would grow quickly. So I had a few conversations with people at CFGI, and the more I heard, I liked it. I got on really well with the leadership that I spoke to, and thought I should make the move. So here I am.
And when you spoke to CFGI, was part of the attraction that you would be the partner for Scotland? Kind of heading up their growth up here. Did that appeal to you?
Yeah, that appealed to me massively, because whilst EY, whilst I was a partner, there was always many people above me who would ultimately be pulling the strings and making the decisions, and I get that. It's a huge business and that's the way it has to work, but I probably did want more responsibility and be able to make my own calls and decisions, and there was also the attraction of work. I report to the guy who I went on the global exchange program with now, and I was maybe a little bit hesitant about that at the start, because he was a friend and we were at the same level at EY, so I was thinking, how is that going to transpire? Will that work out okay? And it actually couldn't be better, because you're reporting into somebody who you have total respect for, who hears you out and kind of trusts you pretty implicitly with the decisions you make. So yeah, having that remit to do kind of as I want to do, within reason. There is still a hierarchy, there's still people who approve things. That I'm by no means getting to run around rogue doing whatever I please, but certainly a pretty quick firm to make decisions and be reactive, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, good. And I mean, I guess we haven't spoken exactly about what you do, so kind of what is your role currently?
Yeah, so my role is kind of ended up being split a little bit. So a lot of my time is up here in Scotland. We have a small team currently. We are growing and recruiting for more. CFGI basically does non-audit services, so it's not directly comparable. It won't be quite the same breadth. But if you think of a Big4 and think of anything about outside assurance and audit, we will probably be able to do it, and it's definitely worth asking. And the second part of the role is ESG. So I've always had an interest in ESG strategy, goals, regulation, non-financial reporting in general. And if you've got a good audit skill set around process control and how to collect data, numbers and report them, there is a kind of natural skill set there and an interest that has allowed me, to develop in this area along with the team down in London. So we're building, and growing an ESG practice just now. So I'd say about 50% of my time is in that area. There is regulation, growing everywhere around the world in different countries and for major companies in lots of geographies. It is a minefield to try and figure out what do I report, when do I report it, where do I report it, do I need it audited, how am I going to go about it. So lots of, fortunately lots of companies coming to us asking for our help, and an area of growth that's going really well. And
what are you enjoying most about it so far? Because how long have you been in?
I've been there
just under a year?
Since October, so
okay.
8 months or something.
Yeah.
What am I enjoying the most? Probably the variety. So at EY, my hours were massively chargeable. The focus was chargeability, and it absolutely is here. But when you're in a growing business, you're having to do other stuff. So my day can be so varied that I'll be here today talking to you. The other day I was at a climate change event in Glasgow. Then I might be doing a day of interviewing. Then I get my head into a technical accounting paper for a client that we're delivering in 2 weeks. Then I'm doing another pitch for an ESG project. So I really, really like the variety. I think I need that to keep my brain engaged. I think back to like school and uni, I think maybe the monotony of it killed me. I think, I definitely need to change things up every now and then. That's threaded through my UI career. I got all these different opportunities. I was jumping around a bit. And I feel like this is so well suited to me because I'm just doing different things every day. So my brain's constantly engaged, switched on, and really enjoying it.
Good. No, that's good to hear, and I do appreciate you taking time out your calendar to come and do this.
Sure.
Just because I guess as we're wrapping up as well, I like to ask each guest kind of about the next 12 months. So, do you have any personal goals, any professional goals for the next 12 months?
Yeah, I think, professionally, I want to grow the business in Scotland. To do that, I need to grow the brand. It's quite funny. Funny is not the right word, but in America, CFGI is quite well known. It's a big business, the largest non-audit accounting firm in the US. Our brand's out there more in London now, but in Scotland people are saying who, we're calling it CGFI, so there's definitely like a lot of work that I and my team need to do to get that brand recognition out there. And with that, the business model is so concrete, I'm so invested in that work will come in, and then the ESG offering that I'm working on UK wide, and that'll be my other goals, just to keep growing that to essentially as big as we can get it to be. Personally, I want to focus now more on my health for the next 12 months. I tend to go through phases of I start going out for runs and I think it's again due to my attention span. I do something for a month and I chuck it, and then I'll go to the gym for a month and then I'll stop going for a month, and I just get into these cycles of just not being particularly healthy. So I really want to challenge myself to
be consistent,
get into a good rhythm and be much more consistent over the next 12 months, and hopefully you lose a couple of stone in the process would be lovely.
Well, all the best on both of that. I know we'll be in touch, keeping in touch, so all the best, and thanks again for coming on, Chris.
No, thank you, pleasure to talk, Craig.
Great.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the Professional Speaks podcast. This podcast was produced by Springwood Studio Productions. Remember, you can watch the episode recording on our YouTube channel, and if you can, please do subscribe and share with all of your friends. The more people who listen to this, the more guests we can have on to share so that you can learn, be inspired, grow, and ultimately succeed in what you want to achieve in your career. Please also contact me if you have any feedback on this episode. I'd love to hear from you.